However, there is a problem with this. As my mother-in-law well knows, she loves playing bingo and she likes to get a lot of cards. And the problem is, the more cards you have, the more confusing it gets. There's only a certain number of cards that you can watch at any one time, and bless her, this is my mother-in-law's great downfall. She finds out she's won about half an hour after the game's over and someone else has walked off with a prize because she can't be ticking all the boxes on all of her cards quick enough. However, there is a solution to this problem, and the solution is we take our universe of cards or stocks and then we filter them and we look through those and we work out which ones are most likely to give us easy, good trades, and then we just watch those. So from our great collection we end up with just a few highly filtered stocks or cards which are highly likely to give us the kind of easy trades that we want. So that's stock selection in a nutshell, or trade selection. How we actually go about filtering stocks to pick the ones what we think are going to move on a given day is quite a big subject in itself, obviously, and so I'll go into more detail on that in a subsequent video. But for now, let's move on and look at the next corner of the trading triangle, which is bottom left, and that is getting a good entry. And getting a good entry is quite important, in my view, not as important as the other two corners of the triangle, but important nonetheless. So to get a good entry, we need to have clearly defined entry rules. You can't be sitting there looking at a chart and trying to make up your mind, should I enter this trade or shouldn't I enter this trade, or where do I enter this trade if I've decided to enter it. When you're watching the chart, that's not the time to be deciding where you're going to get in. You should already, before the chart ever comes up on the screen, have a very clear idea in your mind of exactly where it is you'll enter. You'll have an idea of a pattern or of a certain set of criteria or of a convergence of indicators, if you prefer to trade off indicators. Whatever your method is, you should have a very clear, well-defined image in your mind of what it is you're looking for, so that once you see that, you have no hesitation, you enter the trade. Entry signals should always be confirmed, obviously. We don't just rely on one thing. We try and confirm with other entry signals. If we have a number of signals all saying to enter at the same time, then of course there's a higher probability that the trade will go in our favour. And again, all of these different signals should be very clearly defined. You should have them in your trading plan. Trading plans, good subject for another video and something I'll cover later on. But in essence, you should know exactly when you're going to be getting in before you ever look at a chart, and that helps a lot with the head stuff as well, knowing what you're doing. And finally, beware of analysis paralysis. So this is the opposite of confirming entry signals with other entry signals, is that you don't want to take it too far. For any entry signal you can possibly come up with, if you look hard enough, then you'll be able to find a signal that says go the other way. So it's important not to get too anal about it, and not to have too many conflicting signals on your chart, because otherwise you'll just literally become paralysed by all the analysis what you're doing on the chart, and you'll never take an entry. So it's all about striking a balance, confirming your entry, but not getting too anal about it. Alright, so that's entries, and then the third corner is get a great exit. And in my view, exits are where it's at. This is one of the most important aspects, if not the most important. I put this on a par with picking the right stocks in the first place, or the right instruments to trade in the first place. If you pick the right instrument and you get a great exit, then your entry is much less important. So as I say, your exit is much more important than the entry, and the reason is it's the exit what decides how much profit or loss you make. It's not really the entry. You could enter almost arbitrarily. You could spin a coin and enter. You could decide I'm going to enter this stock at exactly 9:57 a.m. every morning. It almost doesn't matter your entry. I mean, it does matter, obviously. If we can get a better entry, then we increase our chances of profit. But the exit is much more important than the entry, because that decides what amount of profit or loss you make. Until you exit your trade, you haven't made a profit and you haven't made a loss. Now, if we remember, we're trying to make as big a profit as we can on each trade, and if the trade is going to be a loss, then it needs to be as small a loss as possible. And everyone says it, everyone knows that they should do it, and yet so few people do it. People let their losses get bigger and bigger and bigger, and that is almost invariably out of fear of taking that loss. But the fact is, you can't let a loss get away from you. It has to be tiny. Taking a loss is part of trading, it's part of the game, and so losses have to be as small as possible, and in that way we fulfill the criteria that we set out right at the beginning in our 3 ways to profit, and that is taking smaller losses than profits. And by the same token, we're not just talking about taking losses here. If the trade does go our way and becomes profitable, then we need that profit to be as big as it possibly can be, because ultimately we'll take a loss somewhere along the line, and the bigger the profit we have, the less the loss will offset against that profit. So exits, really, really important. And again, we need clearly defined exit rules in the same way as we have clearly defined entry rules, but we don't really need to confirm our exits in the same way that we confirm our entries. If we've got an exit rule that says it's time to get out, then it's time to get out. There's no point in dilly-dallying about and again trying to overanalyze anything. In general, if it says get out, it's usually worth getting out. So there we go. That was the 3 corners of the trading triangle: picking the right trade, picking an easy trade that already has, because of the nature of the trade itself, or the stock or the future or whatever it is we're trading, that it has built-in high probability of profitability, if you like, that it's a nice smooth chart, and that there's a good chance that even if we just pick our entries and exits arbitrarily, that we would still make a profit. Then we've got entries, picking a good entry, making sure that we clearly understand our entry criteria so that when the time comes, we don't even have to think about what to do, we just do it. And most important of all, picking the right exit, because that is ultimately what determines how much profit or how much loss we make on that particular trade. And that is the trading triangle. So as I say, that's a structure what I use to think about all of my trades, and to assimilate new knowledge, and to decide where anything new fits into my trading style. So I can look at something new and think, well, that's obviously something useful to know when I'm picking trades. Is it better than what I already do when I'm picking trades? Yes, well, I'll keep it or work it into the system. No, well, I'll let it go. And same for the other 2 corners. So it's just a structure. And so in subsequent videos, obviously, there's some stuff there what we'll have to cover, how we filter trades, entries, exits, all of that kind of thing. But for the moment, as I say, it gives us a structure to look at, and going forward makes it easier to work out exactly what we're looking at in the trading process. Okay, that's it for this video. Waffled on quite long enough on this one. Do want to say thanks for all the feedback so far on the new format of videos. I had loads of emails, and almost entirely positive, so thanks for that. Really do appreciate it, and keep the emails coming if you've got stuff what you want me to cover. More than happy to consider it and talk about various bits and pieces. Format's pretty open in these videos. As I say, I've got a long list of stuff what I want to cover, but quite open to suggestions, and always very happy to get your feedback. Okay, hope that you found that useful, and I'll have another one for you soon.